Yu-Gi-Oh! GX is actually the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Series of the entire franchise. Yu-Gi-Oh! GX has been getting such a bad rap from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community for so many years now. And honestly, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX is really good. Like, I grew up in the 2000s when Yu-Gi-Oh! GX was airing, and the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Was a little too old for me to catch the brand new episodes until we got to like season 4, and then I was able to watch the new episodes as they came out. But the original like Duelist Kingdom and Battle City, I think aired when I was a little too young to comprehend it, but I would catch the reruns. And I loved Yu-Gi-Oh! I thought it was an amazing series, but Yu-Gi-Oh! GX was the actual first series I watched where I was able to keep up with every episode when it came out and when it aired. And let me tell you, it was and still is amazing. And there are so many critics of like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community when it comes to GX. Like, it's not talked about at conventions. Even the voice actors make fun of GX, but I don't know why that is. I think GX is a perfect like teenage kind of Yu-Gi-Oh! I feel like the old Yu-Gi-Oh! Was really good when it came to storytelling, but especially in America when it came to the 4Kids dub, they harped on one thing way too much: friendship. Literally everything about Yu-Gi-Oh! Was fantastic until they started bringing up friendship and friends. Like, I don't know how many times Yugi had to give Kaiba the speech about friends and how important it is to have people in your life, blah, blah, blah. It became so annoying. I just kind of tuned out when I watched like the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, the actual story that Kazukitakahashi made is fantastic with the Egyptian gods, Battle City, and the final arc. It was all great, but the amount of times they kept bringing up friendship was so annoying. And I also watched Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, and they did the same exact thing. And I know they probably did it way more in the 4Kids dub, and the sub probably doesn't have as much friendship, but that doesn't really matter to me because I grew up in an English-speaking country and with watching it in the English dub, so that's what I'm rating today. But Yu-Gi-Oh! GX is so good because they actually just focus on like the card game and the absurdity of the Yu-Gi-Oh! World. And they talk about friendship here and there. Jaden, does his little speech when it comes to troubled kids, but it's mainly about playing this game and being kind of cool. Like, I was 8 years old when Yu-Gi-Oh! GX came out. I'm dating myself, but I was 8. And seeing someone like Jaden, who was kind of like a freshman in high school, it was just cool. Like, he was just a cool guy. And the English voice cast was amazing. They got like Sean Schemmel to do Dr. Crowler. They had the voice of Kaiba, Eric Stewart, who was Bastion Masawa. And like Zane's voice actor was just so cool. And Jaden's voice actor fit the bill perfect. Like, Jaden was just such a cool protagonist. And his heroes and his deck was so cool. And honestly, I like some of the GX cards more than the original series cards because the archetypes were very unique and different from anything we've seen. And GX focused on fusion summoning as like their main, shtick or gimmick in this universe. And the different fusion types and monsters were kind of like abundant and crazy. It was awesome. But I've been a huge fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX ever since I was a kid, and I just hate how the community has been like bashing on Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Like, I don't think it's like the worst. And I'm not gonna sit here and lie and said I've watched, Zexal or Arc V. I've seen a couple episodes, but just judging it based off the dub, I'm not a fan of the character designs, and I'm not really a fan of the monsters. It might have a good story, I'm not really sure, but I was never really invested enough to care. So we're just gonna talk about the original 3, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX and 5D, because that's all I've seen. But I was watching a YouTuber named Melon T, who made a video about Yu-Gi-Oh! GX and said how she kind of like hated Yu-Gi-Oh! GX growing up, but watching it in the sub, she started to like it more. And I kind of want to go through a lot of like critiques that a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! People have with GX, and I want to address a lot of that. So Melon T kind of makes a point saying that Yu-Gi-Oh! GX in the English dub took a lot of these characters and made them like two-dimensional or made them like over-exaggerated versions of themselves. But to be fair, I think that was a really good idea. They made Jaden like a more kind of like 2000s like teenager, where like he was just super excited, kind of like a stoner a little bit, but it made him fun. Like, I watch season 4 of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. I'm watching the sub for it, and to be fair, it is kind of like a different tonal shift in the series, but that Jaden just in general is a lot more calmer and like normal. But Jaden in the GX dub is hilarious, and that's one of my favorite things about the GX dub. If you actually go back and watch this series, it is hilarious. There are so many funny moments.
Ready, geek? Time to get chazzed. Hold that thought. Before you chazz me, watch this. I reveal 2 of my face downs. But how? Easy. I just call out their names dramatically and they pop up. Haven't you played this game before? Because it's
and funny just dialogue choices that they made. I can't believe that they actually like greenlit some of the dialogue that they said.
We got to prove ourselves to the boss, dog. Then she'll be giving us some mad respect, know what I'm saying?
You're right.
I am? I mean, yeah, boy, let's do this, yo.
It's pretty self-aware and breaks the fourth wall a couple times. But I think the people at 4Kids were having such a good time writing it, and it makes it way more enjoyable as an adult to go back and like watch and listen to all this dialogue. That probably went over my head when I was like 8 years old. Another complaint I see from Melon T is that she thought season 1 of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX was just boring and not good. And I can see what she means by this because the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Had a very strong narrative plot that drove basically every episode of the original series, while GX was kind of more a slice of life type of story up until the end of season 1 and then going on to season 2 and season 3. But to be fair, I think this slice of life kind of style was a great breakaway from the very serious Yu-Gi-Oh! Because dueling should be fun, and especially for the new audience, which is like centered towards more of the teens or the kids that grew up watching the original series. It's a good breakaway just to have Yu-Gi-Oh! As a game that's just fun for kids to play, which is the original intent of the series. And honestly, some of these storylines kind of hit hard. Like episode 14, A Spirit Summoned, was actually kind of creepy, and it came out right around Halloween back in like 2005. It was basically where the Jinzo dual spirit was evil and came to life and was like abducting kids, and Jaden had to be there or else he would be like taken as a prisoner. It was actually kind of terrifying and super cool. And it's not like the whole series was a slice of life type anime. We had serious arcs, like in the end of season 1 we had the Shadow Riders, season 2 we had the Society of Light, season 3 we had Professor Viper, and then Yubel, and then season 4 we had like the final villain, which was just Darkness. So we had like actual story arcs that we followed that kind of put more pressure on Jaden, but it wasn't until like, you know, later into his like Duel Academy years, but it was still there and it was still pretty solid storytelling. And even when Jaden was put in a lot of serious situations, they were always still cracking jokes and making light of the situation that they were in. And then we had a total tonal shift in the series with seasons 3 and 4, where Jaden actually had to mature and then like learn the consequences of dueling and that he could lose a lot of his friends from the choices he makes. And it put a lot more pressure on Jaden to grow up and to mature. And it took away a lot of like, you know, the fun playfulness of GX and made it more of a serious story, which was also a good tonal shift in the middle of the series. So I think GX gets a lot of flack when it really shouldn't. I think it stands as one of the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Series that we have seen. And I gotta say, the supporting cast is honestly really good. Like, Zane Truesdale is amazing. He is so cool. I actually love Chaz a lot. Chaz it up. Like, he is such a funny character. He's kind of like the Kaiba of the series, but he has kind of a metamorphosis where he actually like becomes friends with everybody, which Yugi always wanted for Kaiba, but looks like we got that with Chaz. And he has like humbling moments where he goes from being the richest kid to being disowned by his family and then having to prove that he is worth the Princeton name. And then we have the other side characters like Cyrus, Chumley, and Alexis, and all of them have a lot of great character arcs within themselves. And honestly, like, it's a solid cast. They all have very interesting stories. They're pretty lovable. I will say Cyrus does get annoying a little bit, but he's really self-aware about how he's like the sidekick of the series, and they give him a lot of fourth wall breaking kind of dialogue, which makes it more tolerable and actually more fun. But Yu-Gi-Oh! GX has so much going for it, and I'm so sad that the anime community and the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community doesn't put a lot of respect on GX. But I think now that we're all adults, if you go back and watch the dub, I think we can all enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh! GX way more than we did when we were kids. And honestly, I'm going to make a Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Jadenyuki character analysis video because he is my favorite of the protagonists from Yu-Gi-Oh! And his character arc is so sad and like serious at times, but I think he deserves his own video, and I think we need a lot more GX love. So in the comments below, I want you guys to talk about your favorite GX moments and what GX means to you. And if you don't like GX or haven't really given it a shot, I would highly suggest watching the English dub. It is actually super funny and very enjoyable even as an adult. I watch it all the time as an adult in his 20s. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Peace.